Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking some time out of your schedule to join me and our team here today. This is some new content based on some research and writing that we're doing that also matches some other webinars we've done. So, my name is Dr. Celina, and if you're new to us, welcome. Super excited to have you here today. If you've been hanging around me for a little while, you know that the sense of humor is corny. The hands will wave around, and we're going to try and bring you some ideas to stretch your thinking today. One of the ways that I use this webinar format is to bring you different kinds of ideas that wouldn't necessarily be showing up in our training room or with me on stage. For those of you not familiar with my work on behalf of our team, I am honored to spend time on stages with audiences talking about change readiness and how we move organizations forward. In the training rooms that I spend time in, most of that is about leadership development, skill enhancement to be able to build capacity in organizations. And with both of those options, we have now built out for the last couple of years opportunities in an on demand system. Talk more about that in just a moment. Today's material is a bit of a combination of all of that. So, if I am new to you, please know today is what I call a strategic stretch. We're going to move some brain muscles around today and build some muscle memory, thinking strategically about on the business, not just in the business. And my framework is always this. This is focused at the organizational level, but you may not be looking across the organization right now. Maybe your best focus today is across the team or department level. Or maybe today it's all about you. And you take what you need from this that's going to boost you up today, even if it is just a nugget out of this to think about a situation a little bit differently, or as I love to say, learn something new today. What I want to be able to share with you just for a moment is that our team, most of us are pictured here. I mentioned that in person, the live virtual, and the on demand. We're also happy to note today that while you have been very supportive to us with 49 chameleons, with a couple of thousand already out, being used hopefully and read, if you're not familiar with it, it's a short form book, about 60 pages, where you can zip in, pull a nugget out, work with it, even hit a QR code in the book to listen to me talking about that topic. Recently, we've just announced that 29Ls is going to arrive from the printer any day. I'm just putting that into the universe right now. But 29Ls is about decision-making, hard conversations, and accountability. And you might notice from the number pattern, then hopefully, by the end of the summer, it's ready. We're just working through the process, is 39 squirrels. And that one, as you can imagine, is about focus, priorities, and alignment. It has been super fun to work as a team on these projects. And while there aren't many animal facts in them, that's not the focus, they really do represent our approach to getting content to people multiple ways and multiple methods. I grew up on choose your own adventure books. Did anyone else? Where you get to choose a pathway, make a decision, turn to a different page number, and follow along. We're kind of working on the same model. I'm convinced we need adult versions of choose your own ending. And so you'll find a lot of our content is now following this format. So whether you like to listen to content and want our podcast, whether you want to learn in a on-demand situation where you can pull leadership resources when you need them, anytime, anywhere through an internet connection, you've got it. Or whether it's the opportunity and my honor to spend time with you and your company or your association working in group settings. So I share that with you. Those of you getting to know us today actually all lines up to the content that I want to be able to share with you today. So we are going to provide this recording out. So you might be getting the recording if you signed up for today, but there's a downloadable resource coming with that as well at the beginning of the week. If you don't get that, you can always Google Celina and Iowa, and I appear. You can always reach out to us through our website and hello@workplacechameleon.com. If you're typing it for the first time, I promise you only have to look up how to spell chameleon once, and then you'll have it. There is this accompanying resource along with the recording that we're going to make available, and one more piece to that I'll share at the end of today's presentation. As part of our webinar series as well, we try to do these most months. Some of them are interactive. Some of them are me sharing some of the work we're doing with you through resources and key points. Today is a little bit more of that. Let me tell you, though, how this ties into a previous session. With this link, we're going to send an accompanying previous webinar on building out leadership capability. And it's very much related to today's topic, but it has some different points. That one looked at what are the steps to be able to help leaders learn on the job. And there's a 50-30-20 model that I subscribe to, that 50% of our leadership growth needs to be through stretch assignments, start something, repair something, create something. Like there's lots of different activities, and we have a checklist of those available to you through that webinar link that we'll send with this one that list out how do we get people experiences that will build their capacity individually. 30% are developmental relationships, having people in your life that can help you see things from different perspectives, mentor you, and help champion your learning. 20% training. I really like that number to be higher, and yet, excuse me, it's not. However, I do love to point out that when it comes to leadership learning, we're a better student with training, with educational opportunities that allow us to expand with other content. So you're going to be seeing that. The reason I share that with you today in that very short snippet is because today's key idea is investing in leadership growth also builds the capacity your organization needs to thrive through change, not just survive it. I want to talk today about scaffolding and growth through capacity. So just to give you the map, this is the higher level. While it's organizational level today, for you, it might be personal. But this is the wider umbrella that other webinar talked about in terms of what are the action items. If you're in for strategy and a muscle stretch today to think on the business, you're in the right spot. My hope is if that's not where you're at today, you hang out with us anyways and see this session through. Here's a key start, strategic ideas. What I want you to consider, instead of asking, how do we grow in our company? Future-ready organizations should ask, how do we serve, sustain, and adapt? Why start with that? Because for about 120 years of post-industrial revolution, we have been under a growth mandate. You can look at business research, social science research, a number of different kinds of disciplines that talk about organizations must grow. And we've seen business cycles where you grow, you maintain, and you decline. And in that decline, you have to decide what comes next. But fundamentally, within the business research has been this mandate for growth. I believe growth is a part of it, but it's no longer the goal. And what I want to lay out for you today is a business case you can use to start a conversation in your organization about capacity. Because capacity is what is going to help us navigate the next steps ahead. Because growth is about getting bigger. Now we can say, I increase my knowledge, I grow as a leader, yes. But when we talk about it from organizational capacity, growth is adding people, revenue, locations, mergers and acquisitions, greenfield operations, build something new, brownfield operations, refurbish something to expand your footprint. Today, we know that might be physical or virtual. It's still about getting bigger. Capacity and the business case I want to bring to you today is about getting stronger. It's the difference between expanding and enduring. Let's break that down. Capacity, by definition, is the ability of an organization to respond effectively, align people and resources, and sustain performance, especially under pressure or in change. And starting with that fundamental piece today, I want to add in for just a moment Professor Celina, and drawing on a lot of graduate work and a lot of years of teaching. And if you're getting to know our work today, my very practical, sitting in the training room, walking the construction site, kinds of conversations that I have in real world time is always based in evidence practices. And so I'm going to bring out, just for a couple of moments, a key couple of research areas of research or frameworks that support how we need to do this better next. Hang in there with me just a moment. Let's go through a couple of these. For some of you, you'll love this stuff. For others of you, like, I haven't thought about that yet. But I want to help you build an argument that is not just based on, hey, I think we should do this. I want you to take the best case you can to whoever that is that you need to champion with to make sure that your organization is ready. I want great companies in our communities that keep us strong. So what we know coming out of the evidence, the research out there, we have one pattern coming out in post-growth and donut economics. If you've not seen that phrase before, the research is fascinating. I need to give all props to Katie Rawworth, but it challenged us as a company to define success by how well we regenerate and contribute, not just how much we extract. Certainly, there are many examples in our world where the method is to extract resources from whatever area they're in and consume those without maybe as much thought or contribution that we would like to see to the system around it. And that's part of my work as an organizational psychologist in looking at our ecosystems, in how organizations survive and thrive as part of community. We also know that organizations are dynamic systems. And what we want to be considering is how that ecosystem adapts to their environment and not just dominate it. There are some patterns we're seeing around temporary forms like networks, coalitions, cooperatives, because in uncertain conditions, we have to be able to come together, redeploy, come together, redeploy. And the last points that we're seeing in the evidence is really around capacity building. It shifts from where we've been to more of a complexity science. How do I say that every day? In fact, I said it to a group of foremen this morning who are out in the field with their crews, invested in by their employer, on Zoom with me from locations all over the Midwest, and talking about this is not going back to simple. It is going to stay complex. But what we know is complexity science of what we can learn and resilience thinking helps us adapt, not just efficiency or output, but truly build capacity. So in this short research review today, instead of scaling up, organizations now need to scale wisely, knowing when to pause, downsize, redistribute, or reconfigure. Sometimes I say to business leaders, C-suite, and owners, there are times you need to slow down to go fast. And that doesn't make me very popular some days because there is this mindset of mandate for growth when really we need to rethink our capacity building. Because the future of organizations won't be defined by how big we get, but how well we adapt. It isn't the size of the organization that matters, it's the capacity to change, partner, and pause. I always like looking at what's the evidence. And then often in my world, I say, and add a sense of humor, because how do we actually get this done when we're trying to take care of employees and whoever that is you serve to be able to get the work done? So let's get practical. That's our research layer. Now let's take our strategic layer and then we'll apply it to what's your next move. I want to share with you a twist on the word of capacity and name it adaptive capacity. We're starting to see some research come out on this, and this is an area I'm super excited our team to continue to take on. It is the dynamic combination of foresight, learning agility, flexibility, and resource reallocation. And that is what we're looking at as a new mandate for modern organizations as compared to this perpetual growth model that we've had for some time. I want you to consider today that leadership is infrastructure. So when we consider leadership as infrastructure, adaptive capacities really starts with human capacity. If we want teams, if we want organizations that can adapt, evolve, and withstand disruption, we have to invest in the one thing that makes it possible, and that's leadership. If you consider this, systems don't adapt, people do. And without leaders equipped to guide, translate, and model change, all of the tools and all of the strategies in the world will not matter. If you need a business case to say, we need to take 15 minutes this week at a staff meeting, we need to take 1 hour this month or 2 hours this quarter, I want us to get practical with what we can do, but we need to do more. When leadership as infrastructure is considered, out of all the moving parts of adaptive capacity, systems, structures, and strategies, leadership is the one that holds the rest together. Without capable adaptive leaders, the organization cannot sense, cannot respond, or cannot realign effectively. Therefore, you now have some additional wording today to talk with colleagues, to say to your manager, to send them the link to this webinar, that leadership development is not a benefit. It is actually a survival strategy. Many of you have been in training classes with me or in ballrooms as part of keynotes where we think about change is going to happen. Being change ready is a choice, and disruption will find us. We have to continue to scan the environment to know what do we need to be ready for next. And my bias is that I want our organizations leading the way, not lagging it, because we all can name organizations, companies that we have done business with in the past that no longer exist. Now, while there is a body of work that I like to call organizations were meant to be temporary, it reminds us in our leadership learning that leaders need to be clear on where we're going, but flexible in how we get there. Leaders today are going to have to make and remake organizations, but they have to know how to do that. So I want to go through a few more points of argument. And while there's a lot of words on the slide, that's because you get this as a resource later. And while they may be formally stated, at the end, I'm going to give you a couple of key quick talking points. And maybe today for you, that's just what you need. Maybe it's that push back into a class, to read an article, to watch a video that's going to expand your leadership capacity. Maybe it's for you to bring along a team member. So you're number two, that person you want to grow or a team you want to grow because you want to not hold them back. You want to see them become their best future potential. Or maybe you're making this decision on behalf of a department, division, or organization, and you just need a little more boost. Number one, decision velocity requires prepared leaders. In high change environments, decision-making matters more than ever. On average, if you ask the internet right now, we make about 30,000 decisions a day. But speed without judgment is a liability. Many times in my classes, I ask team members, right? I see leads and supervisors and managers most of my days. And I say, think about that person who walks towards you. And they say, hey, let me tell you something I just did. And hopefully in your inside voice, not your outside face, you go, uh-oh. Because you just know there's a pattern of decision-making there that does not exercise good judgment. But then somebody else comes walking towards you and they say, let me tell you what I just did. And you're like, yeah, what's up? Because there's a pattern of decision-making there that you trust. Here's what we know. And I might love this line so much. Investing in leadership development equips more people to make decisions at the edge. This is just something I've been wrestling with and how we word it. It's closer to the action. And if we are going to trust them to make decisions closer to the action, we got to give them more tools to do it. When we allow them to do that, not just at the top, it increases organizational responsiveness and avoids costly bottlenecks. Now, I love our organizations. There are many on this call today and who will watch it later that I have spent time with, cheered on, struggled with the hard moments. I want to see us doing well. And when we hit those bottlenecks, we lose resources. There is cost there that we can't recoup. So at each of these points, you have my ROI argument at the bottom of the slide. Decentralized, informed decision-making reduces lag, improves service, especially in unpredictable conditions. Let's take a look at a few more. Leadership builds psychological safety and culture stability. Adaptive systems only work if people speak up, take initiative, and challenge the status quo. We are seeing huge amounts of content based in the research coming out around psychological safety. If you haven't seen it yet, we'll always send you some resources, but look it up. So leadership training helps managers create conditions where learning, innovation, and honest feedback can thrive. It also protects against disengagement and talent flight. You know, the most common conversation I have had these last weeks is hearing from leads, supervisors, and managers, quote, employees of theirs saying, I just don't care. And if I spend the following weeks, months, years, I don't know how long it's going to take, we're going to get to the bottom of that because there is a reason people don't care at work. Our ROI argument on this culture that supports learning outperforms competitors in innovation, retention, and employee well-being. And those employees who just don't care may not be a fit. And then I ask, have we given them a reason to care? Number 3, strategic ability depends on leadership alignment. Strategy can shift, but leaders need to be aligned and capable of guiding change. And if they don't, the plan fails at the point of execution. I love our companies because we are really good doers. But trained leaders translate strategic intent to local action. They know what to look for. It's one of my favorite classes to teach of strategic thinking and helping even my frontline lead or that new supervisor understand that they have to think a little wider than their position. That's their strategy. And they have to translate those big chunks up above into daily action. When we do this, it ensures consistency in direction without negative micromanagement. Our ROI, the number one reason change initiatives fail is inconsistent leadership behavior. We need to reduce wasted efforts and conflicting priorities. Couple more. Number 4, leadership is the scalable layer of organizational memory. Every organization, if we're fortunate, has a history. And in my day-to-day conversations, I always say, don't ding on the history, it was. The question is how we move forward. Systems may change, but values, priorities, and lessons often live in the people who lead. It's the stories we tell. It's how we prioritize what's in front of us. So developing leaders ensures knowledge transfer, succession, and cultural continuity. It can help us avoid what we'll call the start over effect with every shift or every time we reorganize. Our ROI pitch to colleagues and maybe other senior leaders or our boards. This helps us reduce cost of turnover, protects institutional wisdom, and strengthens continuity across the generations of the organization. If we've been around 10 years or 110. Capacity, I want you to consider for today, is about people, not just systems. Technology and policy don't build resilience, people do. Leaders influence how well people use tools. Think about a time you implemented a new tool and people didn't use it because they didn't think they had to. Or they tried it for a while and then no one held them to it. My favorite line is people tell me all the time, Celina, the new system doesn't work like the old system. I love to remind them that if it worked like the old system, we wouldn't need the new system. But leaders influence if we follow a process. Leaders also influence how we collaborate across pathways, departments, or silos. Leadership development enhances both technical adoption and relational trust. We invest huge amounts of capital into technology and policy, assets and processes. It is incomplete if we don't have leaders that can lead us through it. So here's our argument. Leadership skills amplify the ROI of other investments, ERP systems, reorganization, AI tools by improving uptake and engagement. Last one, adaptive leaders model the mindset, not just skills. Really, the true driver of capacity isn't just what leaders do. It's how they think. Leadership development then fosters and can support the strategic mindset. You heard me say it just a moment ago. Almost every event, whether it's on a stage or on a job site, starts with a strategic stress because we got to move those muscles. Emotional intelligence, that ability to know how I'm feeling and how it's affecting me. The ability to read people and know what to do next. And probably our most requested topic right now, comfort with ambiguity. I have a new fascination around uncertainty, the space between here and there. It was in the title and my content of my second TEDx, and it's still here. And that was a few years ago. So we've learned some things since, and we're still in this gray. We're still in the unknown. So what I like about these kinds of mental models, it helps direct behavior and influence how people engage with change. People do what people see. Teams mirror their leaders. Developing the leader mindset accelerates cultural shifts and adaptive performance. So you've been patient with me in this style today because this is content I'm sharing with you for you to do what you need to next with it. We started with the basis and the evidence. What are some of the key research categories that are interdisciplinary that can give us some hints of what we need to be ready for next. Now we're taking our business case in a bit of a longer format to make the pitch or the argument for return on investment. If we take all of that, it brings us back to a couple of core points for the rest of my time with you. Leadership as infrastructure isn't extra, it's essential. And I love to be really practical about that. Even in the example I gave you a few minutes ago, 15 minutes today, 1 hour this month, 2 hours this quarter, whatever your pattern is, do something better and more than you're doing now. Maybe you're doing something now, we just need to step it up and make it a little bit more impactful. Or maybe you're not doing something now and you need to start with something. If we break this down into those points, leaders drive performance. Every key business result, sales, service, productivity, quality, safety depends on how well people lead others. Effective leadership prevents more expensive problems. There is a cost, without a doubt, to do leadership development. No matter what part of that 50-30-20 model I mentioned from the other webinar I referenced at the beginning of today's session, there is a cost to, but there's a cost not to. It's my favorite strategic argument. Weak leadership is expensive, and not always in obvious ways. Change readiness requires leader preparation at all levels. Your organization cannot adapt unless your people know how to lead through the change. And I believe that we have opportunities in our organization to provide new tools and opportunities for every single person to have a change management toolbox, not just formal people leaders, project leaders, technical leaders, or expertise leaders, but individual contributors who are navigating every single day through a list of change initiatives. Last couple, leadership development multiplies other investments. Training your leaders increases the return on every other initiative. Systems, tools, process changes. When we're spending billions of dollars across organizations, even just within a region, leaders help bring in the ROI on that. And capacity, this ability to be adaptive and build that capacity to do what we need to do next, comes from people, not just plans. Resilience isn't about having a backup plan. It's about having capable people who can adjust in real time. I believe you don't rise to the level of your plans. You rise to the level of your leadership. Today, I want you to consider what you need at the individual level, the team or department level, or at the organizational level. Because if we want a stronger future for us, for our teams, for our organizations, or across our communities, we create that by growing leadership capacity that allows us to be more adaptive. And I really believe that the world doesn't need us to grow endlessly. This growth mandate that we have been listening to, for that 120 plus or minus years of a post-industrial revolution. Yet we also know leadership is not a new topic. People have needed leaders since the beginning of humans. But I also believe in this time and space that we share together, people crave wise leadership. They want good, authentic leaders. And I really believe, going back to my comment earlier, that's our care factor. Because what we build now in our people will determine how ready we are for what comes next. So as we bring today's opportunity to an end here in just a few minutes, I want to share with you a couple of things that takes this material to support you. So this presentation will be provided to you, or if you've gotten the link, but we've also now worked out a process where this webinar will also be an article. So we have launched a LinkedIn newsletter under my LinkedIn profile. So if we are not connected on LinkedIn, please consider following and connecting with me there. But you have an opportunity on the QR code here to subscribe to that newsletter because you took the investment of time to watch this webinar to this point, live or on the recording. But I'm going to add into the newsletter those next steps of action. So consider following us there and joining us on what comes next. There's already an issue out there. They're short articles, something to help hopefully push your thinking that next level today. I also want to share with you, I mentioned this quote earlier, and probably, I hope, at least for a very long time yet, continues to be my passion in all of this. It was quoted in our recent project, my first book, Tip 49. Change is going to happen. Being change ready is a choice. And today I want you to consider that your ability to adapt as a person, as a team, and as an organization is tied to how we help new leaders and advancing leaders grow. Super excited that you took the time to spend with me. Please reach out to our team anytime. Those viewing this live have a variety of links in the chat. We can't wait to see what you do next. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll talk again soon.